Hello. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing all right, trying to stay warm. It feels very chilly here on the East Coast.
Wow. Did you get moved?
I have moved out of my office
Yeah.
and I am temporarily in a friend of mine's home Pilates studio
Uh-huh.
while I still try to find a new office space.
All right.
So it is just the big transition.
A step into the new year.
Well, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, just hanging on. I think I have found a spot that would put me in a massage therapy practice that also has acupuncture and
Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I might do something like that. And that
An
would be,
environment.
yes.
Yeah.
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 So how was the rest of your birthday celebration? How was your birthday
Oh,
lunch?
it was wonderful. I had family here from California and from here in Arizona and so on. And yeah, it's been a lovely, lovely week.
Good,
Yeah.
of course.
And so we were talking about the possibility of talking about different types of Christmas and Easter, and no, we're not Easter, but in Thanksgiving and
Well, just holiday traditions,
right.
even the pat geez, Hanukkah. I was going to say Passover because you said Easter. Um, yeah, all of the traditions.
Yeah, because when in India we had quite the different kinds of traditions because the world was different there. And when I came to college in my freshman year, we were breaking for Thanksgiving, and people were going to their homes, and I was going to go home with my roommate, but we were sitting around a table before we all left, and somebody said to me, "So Gladys, what did you do for Thanksgiving?" And I said, "Well, my dad went out and shot a peacock, and everybody got up and left the table." And I thought, now what did I do that scared them? And I sat there by myself, realizing that it was very strange to say that you shot a peacock. I mean, that was not accept,
And then ate
understand.
it.
So I realized that number one, and there are two things. Either the girls thought I was lying, or that they just couldn't put their minds around it enough that actually somebody went and shot a peacock. Well,
Right.
the fact of the matter was that the peacocks used to really destroy a farmer's field sometimes. And my dad had a gun, and so they would ask him to come and help them so that they don't lose their crops. But that was not the Thanksgiving thing. And Thanksgiving, my dad actually went out and hunted and found a peacock and shot it, and that's what we had for Thanksgiving dinner. But it was a normal, I
Right.
it was so normal for me that I couldn't imagine just how my friends were feeling like when I said that.
Yeah, different traditions for sure. And how did the peacock taste?
Oh, it's almost all white meat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
But it's good, it's a big burden.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good Thanksgiving.
And so what did you do for Christmas in India?
Well, we were in the big house, the mission house for Christmas, and my dad would go out and cut trim a limb off of the Imlay tree, which is a tree that looked kind of like a our Christmas tree, and he'd bring it in and set it up in the living room, and we'd put candles on it, but they were real candles with a little skirt at the bottom. And then we had a Christmas Eve celebration where the people in the community came in, and we had sort of a gift exchange kind of thing. But basically, we had a ceremony. And so the Christmas story was told, and we lit the candles and paid attention to what was going on the tree.
Yeah.
And when the ceremony was done, we blew out the candles and then shared our gifts, and that was Christmas Eve, and then Christmas story was told in the morning.
And then did you do anything, like, did you have a big Christmas meal during the day on Christmas, or was it really more about the Christmas Eve?
It was more about the Christmas Eve because we
Okay.
were sharing it with the community.
Mm.
But New Year's Day was a big day because this was really important. On our compound, there was the boys' school, which was these boys were children of lepers. And the lepers would bring the children to the boarding house at the so they were at the school because they had to be separated from their parents because they would have gotten leprosy. So the parents knew that, and they brought the children over and basically didn't see them most of the year. But on New Year's Day, they would come, the ones who had sons in the school would come over, and we'd have a big celebration. But the parents had to sit in one side of the yard, and they didn't really get to hug their kids and all very much, but they did get to touch them, and they got a chance to see them do some things, like read a passage or do a state some kind of whatever they had decided they would do to show their parents that they were learning and they were getting educated. And then after that was all done and the parents were fed, they would give them a good meal right there, which was very nice for them. And then their sons would have races so that, so it was a big day. New Year's Day was a huge day for the children of the lepers and for the lepers themselves.
So how young did they drop their children off, like as newborns?
No, no, the kids were allowed to stay with them until they were about five,
Well,
four or five.
what made
They,
them not contract leprosy?
they didn't seem to happen. And, it took about 7 years for them to really be exposed enough.
But they could also get treated when they got to the home.
Yeah. And then if they did have leprosy, we do what we could do to treat them. But it was all patterned out for how these children could survive
Mm.
the leprosy. So their parents knew it, and the kids knew it, and they knew it. They were not abandoned. These
Mhm.
weren't abandoned children. Uh, Not like the children who were abandoned on the train stations in Varanasi. That's a whole different story. These children were brought by their parents to the school, and there's where they would get their education. They would live there, and it would become their home.
And did the parents with leprosy all live in a community together?
Yeah, there was a leper colony. The whole colony was uh, outside of the city limits, and my parents had built a church for them. And the interesting thing with this church was it had no walls. It had a roof to keep the sun and rain out, but it had no walls because you didn't want to have lepers kept in place that was, uh,
No
you know,
ventilation.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Wow. And when
So,
did leprosy, I feel like I should know this, but when did that end? When did they figure out?
well, it was after World War II in different places, and we don't consider it out in India because the lepers themselves frequently keep one child home so that that child will get the leprosy and be able to carry out their tradition.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Well, that was their child and they made the decision and the child decided and that's.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that they would choose to carry out that.
But it's their
Yeah.
community.
There's power.
Yeah.
You see, it's what they had, that's what they understood. They all understood the same thing about what the disease was,
Right.
and the child understood it. So the child would uh, opt to stay with the parents
Wow.
and knowing what his future would be.
Wow. And what is the path of leprosy? Like how does that work through a body?
Well, it depends on the body, but it's so complicated. It attacks all organs, and it's a very complicated, horrible disease.
Oh,
But it's a lifetime of living with it. And the leper peoples uh, are not, they're not angry. They have accepted this, and in their theology, this is because I don't know why, but this is their karma, and this is what they're living through this lifetime.
hmm.
And I think in the way they look at it, it is part of a whole process of lifetimes. And in this lifetime, this is what they're doing.
So it's kind of like a penance or a karmic
Yeah, yeah.
repayment.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Wow. Wow. And so once you left India and you were in college and maybe just more as you were raising your children, once you were married with Bill to
Oh,
Bill.
yeah, we got a Christmas tree on the 20th and we decorated that and we had that all during Christmas Eve. We'd um uh let's see, we went to church Christmas morning.
What church did you guys go to?
Valley Presbyterian Church here in Phoenix, but it was Presbyterian type, and so we'd have the service on Christmas. We'd have our own party and all of that Christmas Eve, and then we'd go to church on Christmas morning.
And then would you still celebrate once you got home?
Oh, yeah, because the kids would have gotten their presents and
Right.
everybody had time to, you know, celebrate and so on. So Christmas Day was a good day.
Right. Right. And then did you guys do a New Year's Eve thing?
Did we what?
Have a New Year's Eve
Oh
celebration
yeah,
or party?
New Year's Eve was great. We would gather, a whole community would gather in our living room, and we'd sing hymns or sing hymns, do whatever we wanted to do. And when New Year's came in, we all sang, Happy New Year and stuff. But then we would, it was just a big party time. It was
Mhm.
wonderful.
It's so interesting that we lived so close and yet we never
Yeah.
you never connected with my parents in that way.
Isn't that interesting?
I know.
Right down the street, just a, a yard and a half away.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, that's yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, how did you do it?
We did the traditional get the Christmas tree, cut it down, decorate it, and then we would get in the car and drive around. We were big singers. Like Dad, there were a lot of old family songs, and he had a
Oh,
really amazing voice.
great.
And my mom could harmonize pretty well with him. So we would drive around all of Scottsdale looking at the Christmas lights, singing Christmas carols.
Wonderful.
And then Christmas Day, we would just, get up and do our presents and then have family. He had
Yeah.
brothers and sisters that lived, our sister that lived in the area. So they would come over and my grandmother would come over and, we would just have a big meal.
Yeah.
And then I recall they would have a big New Year's Eve party. And for some reason, the thing to do at midnight was to go out with the shotgun and just rifle off a couple, like straight up in the, like up
Yeah.
in the air.
Yeah.
Shoot
Yeah.
off it. I don't know. But yeah, it was a lot. I loved it all. There was nothing that felt, stressful or dramatic about it as a kid.
It was expected,
Yeah.
These were things we knew how it was going to happen, and it's what we expected.
Yeah, it's just interesting how the whole Santa Claus thing came about.
Yeah. 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 Well, my son John, who's here, he tell him about your hay rides.
I have to get close enough to make him hear.
He's coming over because he was the pastor of a church in Bryan, Texas, and so they had a special thing that they did.
This was back in the 1980s, way back then. And a member of the church and I would go to wherever we could find it, borrow from somebody a 35-foot long gooseneck trailer and hook it up to a truck that could handle that, and borrow that truck also. And then we would go to somebody's farm and borrow a bunch of hay bales and then load those onto the trailer. And then we would go back to the church and invite people from the church to come at a certain time. And they would all get onto the trailer and sit on the hay bales, and we would drive that truck around town and they would sing Christmas carols, and we would stop at people's houses and get off and maybe get in front of their house and sing Christmas carols of church members, in front of the house of church members, and get back up on the hay bales and drive around some more, and
That's fun.
mostly just drive around and sing Christmas carols. And everybody would, bring stuff that, maybe something to nibble on or drink or something, but mainly
Right.
just do that. And then when we got back to the church, some people would have prepared a little snack for people, some hot chocolate and cookies and things. And we'd have a little social at the church afterwards. And it was just a nice church activity.
Yeah, that is nice. Your son commented that he remembers those hay rides and they were really fun.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
But then the next day or two, we had to go back and return all that stuff. So imagine returning 50 hay bales and putting them back in somebody's barn and stacking them back up.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
One year I did it by myself, and it was a little tricky because um, when I uh, drove the truck into the yard, the cows followed all the hay. And so um, you drive back out and the cows want to follow the hay. And so how do you, by yourself, drive out without taking cows with you?
Yes.
So you drive a little bit and go out and shoo the cows away and get back in the truck real quick and drive a little further, go shoo the cows away, like that. Try and
I
get the
love it.
gate closed behind you. It was good times.
Yeah. Well,
Nice memories.
I bet there's some other people listening in who had some interesting traditions.
Well, yeah, and also because, there's so many people that don't celebrate Christmas per se, or they have Hanukkah, or they don't celebrate, it's just not the time of year that they would celebrate their religion. Um, but I always feel like, and you probably, I mean, you had all kinds of different religions when you were in India.
Yes, yes.
Right. And so it's also to me, I just, I love the idea of celebrating the winter solstice and just the time of year. And as we're getting, the shorter days and we go inward, in our lives and just all of it, I think there's really something magical to be celebrating not only the cycle of the moon, but also just the cycle of nature
Right. I
and
think that's lovely.
honoring that.
Well, in India, we had the Diwali, which was the time for the lights, and people had little uh, oil lamps that they put on all the walls around, and it was a really nice celebration. And there was the other one where they sprayed each other with color, and so if you didn't want to get sprayed with some kind of color, you stayed in. You didn't go out.
And were they spraying you with paint? I mean,
Yeah,
what were they?
yeah, dyes.
Wow.
It was a
Wow.
powder.
Huh?
It was a powdery. It
Hmm.
wasn't a liquid.
No, some of it was powder, some of it was liquid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
And
Anyway, those were
what tradition was that for?
well, it was sort of a connecting the Hindu religion with, I'm not sure just which uh, dua was the lights. No, I'm not really sure. There may be somebody who's listening in who knows, but it was an amazing time where if you didn't want to get painted, get color on your clothes and so on, you just didn't go out. But if you wanted to join in the fun, it was great.
So did you go out as a young person?
No, no, because it would ruin your clothes and everything else. But it was worth it for the people who were doing it.
Yeah. And Diwali, is that always around the winter solstice?
I think so.
I feel
Um,
like it is too.
I do too. Actually, our anniversary, Bill's and my anniversary was on the 20th, and that's when we used to go get 20th of December. We used to get our tree that day.
And did you do that because it was your anniversary?
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
That's nice. And did you guys go cut it down?
No, we went and bought one. When we were in Wellsville, you could go out and cut it down, but here we bought it, with the
Um,
trading. Yeah,
Somebody was commenting that it's called Pagwa and it's the spring festival.
great. There you go.
And somebody else is saying it is wholly a festival of color that is in the spring.
Right,
Diwali is festival of lights and it's in October or November. Okay,
right.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for looking that up.
Well, that's probably they're living it, probably. It's probably what their tradition is.
Um,
Either way.
yeah, but that's what's so fun. There's just so many different ones. It's great.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so what do you guys do now for
Well,
Christmas?
uh, I'm going to, John's going to be going to Pennsylvania, and my son Bob's going to come. No, yeah, Bob's coming down. No, Gabriel's coming up. Anyway,
Helene is going to be with
and
me.
we're going to have it up at her house. And, so, you adjust.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah,
somebody just said Diwali is during the darkest night of the year. So yes, it's the winter solstice.
yes, that's right.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Isn't it wonderful that we have these different traditions that we can actually uh, honor each other in our celebrations? I think it's great.
I think so too, because I just feel like there isn't the one right way. There isn't just the one, yeah, yes, they all are meaningful and they all are important and they're all the different beautiful aspects of living on this planet.
And they're precious to us as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's so important. We've come in this lifetime, and this is our tradition. And I just think that's awesome.
I do too.
And it's such fun to realize that other people have other ways of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can understand that it's their holy day.
Right, right. Um, we a couple years back it was the first Christmas during COVID, so it would have been 2020 Christmas. And I decided to get a group of friends together to go Christmas caroling. And because nobody does that anymore. And it was the funniest thing ever because my friend printed out a huge booklet of all these Christmas carols. And, here we are walking in the dark, and it was the tiniest little print, and we couldn't read we couldn't read it anyway. So then we're trying to sing whatever songs we know, and we realized that, there was a lot of humming and a lot of la 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 la, and then we would all chime in on the chorus of a Christmas carol or whatever. It was so funny. We had so much fun, and all of the neighbors were so, they were just into it. We were in the middle of COVID, and everybody was super freaked out, and so they would open the door and just be so happy that there was somebody out there having fun. It was great. Yeah, it was really fun.
Isn't that great?
Yeah,
Taking
I
it,
mean, we got to keep doing those things, and get
take it
connected to the community and
right.
whatever that, however that looks.
Take advantage of an opportunity when someone else will understand what it is that you're doing,
Mm,
because it's part of our each individual history.
right,
And just because it's weird, like having a peacock, doesn't mean that it's, well, weird is a good thing anyway, but
right,
you know, it's that ability to understand that other people have other ways of celebrating the same historical event.
right. Oh, somebody's commenting, COVID is back and terrible. Well, I think COVID's going to come and go and come and go and come and go.
Yeah, it comes in waves, and
Yeah.
and they're trying to figure out how to prevent that, and they're working with it. But it at least has therapy now. You know, when we started, we didn't know how to treat it. At least we can do something about it now, so that's good.
Right.
And, you know, we can celebrate the reality that uh, during the, I think this is a fact, during the COVID time when it first came in, we were first forced to go back home.
Mm,
And, you know, it was a time when uh, we had to reconnect with our families in ways that we had been too busy to do for many years. And
right.
it shook us up, but it reawakened also for some people. Like, well, interestingly, my grandson who just left to go back to Sacramento yesterday, I think. Anyway, um, during the COVID thing, he stayed home because he works with the Energy Commission in California. And he liked doing that so much that he's still doing it. And he's able to work from home.
Mm,
And
mm-hmm.
it works very, very well for him. And I'm hearing other people who have said they went back home and boy, this is where they wanted to keep on working. And
Right.
it works. So a lot of things changed during that time, sort of reclaiming different aspects of our lives from the past, which is not a bad thing.
Right. I don't think so either. I think they're, yes, I agree. Somebody commented they went square dancing today and also decided to try new adventures. I
Wow.
love that.
Uh-huh. Good.
Yeah.
See, it reawakens old memories, what we call memory lane, you know. And it's such a wonderful thing to be able to do that. I think
Mm,
that's great.
somebody's asking you a question.
Yeah.
Dr. Gladys, do you remember any other time in your many years of having such a pandemic like COVID worldwide? There have been many, of course, but not like COVID, right?
Well, each one of the pandemics have been different. So none of them are exactly alike. The disease process has been different. I remember cholera epidemics when I was in India, and that would really uh, decimate a whole community. It would be
Mm,
very difficult. So these epidemics have happened throughout the years, but uh, somehow the COVID kind of snuck up on us, and we didn't really understand what it was. Of
mm.
course, with the other ones, like with malaria, we didn't know what that was for years and years. And
And my guess would be that the other ones were also as global, but it was just less known because there wasn't social media, there wasn't television coverage, there wasn't the ability you know,
communicate, yeah.
to
People didn't,
communicate the way that COVID got communicated.
right, people didn't understand that that, you know, they didn't travel like we travel now. And so they didn't really know what was going on around different places in the world.
Right.
So you could have a huge community that would be affected and not necessarily have it go anyplace else, but it could, you know. So
Right.
uh, it depends on what history you're following.
But do you recall there being, I would imagine the answer, well, I'll just keep my mouth shut and ask you, was there the same amount of fear with all the other pandemics?
Yeah, but they were different because, like, in my lifetime, we know what malaria was caused by. I grew up living, sleeping in under a what do you call it? A net,
Yeah, the mosquito netting.
mosquito netting. And that was something that we just expected. We had ways of doing that, and there were certain things that we just didn't do. Um, but
Right.
but malaria was so prominent. In fact, just after I was born, within 2 days, my mother developed a fever, and it was malaria.
Mm.
And we all took quinine repeatedly because we were always having to do, we'd get a fever and it would be malaria, and we'd take. But that's after we found out that quinine worked.
Mm.
Because when my parents went out to India, they didn't have that. So finally, it's been a learning process through the years.
Interesting. Somebody is asking, how is the Ayurveda in India to the way it's practiced here in America? What would you recommend someone studying integrated health practitioner?
I'd recommend that you find out what the people in India are studying, how they work and how it works for them, because I it's like the whole intricacy of the Christian religion, which is different from the uh, Jewish religion, which is different from the uh, other traditions. You have to really find out from the people who are doing it and working with it and worshiping that way as to what's the real heart of their religion. And because if someone from the outside tries to explain it, it doesn't really have the same essence as the people for whom that religion is central to their beliefs and their lifespan. So I would recommend, if you're interested, find out all you can from the people whose life is centered in this way.
Are you saying that Ayurveda is a religion?
It's tied right into the Vedic part
Scriptures.
of, yeah. So it's
Huh.
all, it's so importantly woven through that uh, it isn't. Well, when I don't know, when when we have something that is part of the basic concept of what life means to us, then that is part of everything that is important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And as we look at that and understand what it is with us and see how there um, different concepts, different medications, different philosophies, different this, that can weave in and out of other religious ways.
Hmm.
It's a fascinating trip that you can take to understand other people.
I guess I didn't really think about it that way. I always thought of Ayurvedic medicine as just really a system of an approach to wellness and healing that
Like,
was very integrated with life, with living and how you move
yeah.
through the world. But I never really, but speaking it and, that it's connected to the Vedic scriptures and all of that, I don't know why I never put that together.
Well, it's not like acupuncture. Acupuncture has nothing to do with.
Right. Okay. Your sound went away. Are you getting a phone call? Are you back? John's finger. No, it's okay. Were you getting a phone call?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll put the do not disturb on next week.
Right, I know. I
Tired of
hate it
it.
when I forget. Somebody's saying they follow Dr. Dimple on Instagram and she would be a good person to ask. Okay.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
the person that asked that question is saying that they're more interested in the medical healing than the religion.
Well, how do you, I don't know how I can explain that because what we believe and what is our religion and so on is so individual and so personal and so important that for somebody from the outside to try to explain what is that inner aspect of another person's uh, uh, way of life and who they are is a little bit, uh, that's passing the uh, where it truly is understanding. So I can't do that. To me, I have to understand that people have their own way of looking at life and working with healing and watching what happens. It's I can help with what I can understand, but there's so many other ways of looking at life and understanding what it is that makes your life what it is. We have to claim our own who we are and then stand tall and understand that this is right for me. you know this makes sense to me.
Yeah. I would just offer that I follow a person by the name of Peter Crone, Crone. He is an Ayurvedic practitioner, so he's someone that you could look up and check out. He's got a
There you
lot of
go.
offerings.
There you go.
And somebody else is asking, and I'm not sure what this word is, but I get the gist of the question. What is your most important practice you do every day that you credit to your longevity? Thank you. I love your wisdom.
I think the whole I can't give you any one thing. It's what leads to another and what leads to another. I wake up with gratitude in my heart for another day.
A sense of purpose.
And yeah, and as I do that, I understand again each day what my purpose is. And it's to be live my life to the fullest as far as I can understand it at this time. I think to me, the whole excitement about life is that it's always changing. It's always something's new, and the new moves out in and into my life, and I live it, and it is what it is, and then something else happens, and I grow up. I not grow out of it. I live through it, and then it becomes part of who and what I am. It's an amazing process, this life of ours. And as we can accept it for what it is, it's a wow, it's so amazing. And I'm constantly looking for something, and new things happen all the time. I'm not only in technology, but in each one of our lives. Like new babies get born. I have a new baby by the name of Ollie, and he's the cutest little guy. He's now about 8 months old, I think, and they wanted to go to Mexico and they had to get a passport, and he wouldn't stop smiling. they kind of they kept saying when they're trying to get his passport, they're trying to tell this baby to shut his mouth and stop smiling, and he's not about
Right,
to
because they
stop
don't want you to
smiling.
smile now.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
there are amazing things like that that are happening all the time that to me are pivotal to what it is that we're living. I don't have any proscribed thing that I can say to
mm,
anybody, this is what I do every day because this is every day. It doesn't happen every day. It
right.
happens when it happens, and I take it where it is, and it's just amazing.
Um, Somebody is saying thank you for your amazing contribution to this world. And
You-
somebody else would like to know what you recall or remember about Milton Erickson.
Oh, I love Bill Lil Erickson.
Who
He,
is
he
that?
yeah, he worked with the whole. He created the whole Ericksonian hypnosis process, and
Okay.
we uh, I was pregnant with Helene, so we were here in Phoenix 2 years when we met Milton, and we began having uh, Tuesday night meetings where there were 6 or 7 of us who met in our living room and worked with hypnosis and got Milton stories and really had a symposium on hypnosis
Hmm.
every Tuesday night until I was far enough along with my pregnancy that this was getting, and we'd go into about 2 o'clock in the morning,
Oh,
and I finally kicked them out and told them to go find another place to find their meetings. And they did. And that's when the uh, uh, current, what is it, the hypnosis name? Uh, well, I'm bad with names right now.
I don't know.
But anyway, the whole process of Ericksonian um, work took off because they started their own uh, Academy of Clinical Hypnosis. That's what it was. Yeah. And so the Academy of Clinical Hypnosis started, and it's still going.
Wow, you really were on the cutting edge of so many things.
Well, life was changing at that time. It was so amazing. It was
Yeah.
after the war, and long after the war, so that things had happened and moved and also, yeah, it was amazing.
Uh, Somebody's asking, have you had any experience with Andre Bernard's idiokinesis?
Know of it, but I haven't worked with it. No, I
Never
think
heard of it.
these are the kinds of things that are so fascinating that we find for ourselves that we could work with.
Right.
It's
I
just
mean, that's the
awesome.
thing that I just find so amazing is
Yeah.
that there's so many different ways to healing and ways of living your life that feels healthy and all those things that there is no one right way. There's a lot of ways, and everybody, like you've been saying, everybody's so different and
And what works for you?
right,
Yeah.
right.
When we find what works for us, God bless us.
Yeah,
It's amazing. And it
yeah,
doesn't work the same all the time anyway,
right,
because we change.
right, right,
So,
right.
you know, you
Uh,
just have to keep looking for what it is. That's what's so exciting. I don't think life gets boring. I think just new areas open up and oh yeah, yeah. And then there's another one will open up and oh no, I'm not going that way.
Yeah. So one last question. Somebody is wondering if you have worked with family constellations.
I don't know that term.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't either. I know the term and I know people that have worked with it. It's a therapeutic family. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it, but
I think my son Bob does that kind of work
that would
in
make
the
sense.
Human Potential Center.
Okay, wait. Here's one more question, and then we're going to have to wrap it up because I have an appointment I have to get to. Somebody wants to know, Dr. Gladys, have you ever had an out-of-body experience?
Yeah. Yes. You want to
And that's
know?
all you're going to say is just yes? You're not going to share one little experience?
No, because, uh, those are very precious things to me,
Mm.
and they involve other people too.
Uh,
And it's an amazing uh, process that where you can connect, and it's not unusual to be able to connect with the people that you love, or and with patients that I was working with. There were times when I had a patient that I was having a difficult time understanding what it was that we were working with, and then I was able to get an understanding from that the inner part of the well, I don't know, from the extended part of that patient's process.
mm,
These are hard things to put into words, but
right.
yes, I've those been able to meet at a level of awareness that allowed us to figure out what it was that the person was dealing with.
Mm, so great. Well, I will end this by saying my friend Kathy Batista commented saying, this woman is so inspirational and giving me light today.
Oh,
So
thank you, thank you. We're all in it together, kiddo.
we all are in it together, shining our light as much
Right,
as we can.
right.
Well, yours is beautiful and bright, and we're so glad to have you shining it away on
And
the
you
regular.
and you're all, each one of you, very, very important in the work that's going on at this time. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, so just thank you everyone for being here yet again, joining in with us and chiming in, giving comments, asking questions. We love it
It's
when that
wonderful.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, so please always keep the questions coming and we get to them as quickly as I can read them. So, um, all
all
right,
righty.
Gladys, well, you have a fantastic week, the rest of your week.
Absolutely, all of you.
Yes, everybody. And we will be back next Tuesday, same time.
Great.
All right. Love you.
Love you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye, John.
Bye. Thanks.